This is Terror House Radio with Matt Forney and Bryden Proctor.
Welcome to Terror House Radio, episode number 9. I am Matt Forney, your charming and loquacious host, and the founder and editor-in-chief of Terror House Press. My co-host and producer, Bryden Proctor, won't be on this episode. He is currently in county jail for a DUI. Very unfortunate. So I'll be flying solo on this episode, and on this episode, my guest, will be Matt Lawrence. He is Terror House Press's art director, a graphic designer, artist, musician, and writer. And most importantly, he is the author of Terror House's next book, The Chronicles of BRONAN the Barbarian, a humor compendium, 2010 to 2013. Now, this is some old school internet history. You know, a lot of you are newcomers. A lot of you are newcomers to Terror House and my work in particular, but for those of you who've been following my work for years, I've been doing this in some form or another since 2009. There used to be this cultural scene on the internet called the manosphere, a anti-PC, masculine, anti-feminist, whatever you want to call it, just collective of bloggers talking about men's issues and just the world as it is. Not MRAs, not MGTOW, not any of this stuff. Just guys being dudes. It included guys like Roosh. It included guys like Royce CNDC or Hartiste or whatever he calls himself now. It included myself. It included Mark Zola, the Naughty Nomad. And it included a blog by the name of Bronan the Barbarian, written by Matt Lawrence under a pseudonym. And Bronan was a very popular blog. It was very different from the other types of blogs that were typically in the manosphere. It was a humor blog first and foremost. Matt Lawrence just wrote about, he wrote everything about just weird stories of girls he hooked up with, stories from awful jobs he had, stories of horrible food service in Portland, stories of just weird people he knew. He wrote humor first and foremost. He was very funny and very, very popular. He's a hilarious fucking dude. He unfortunately had to end the blog in 2013. Since then, he's become an artist. But we are bringing Bronan back. We are bringing the best of his blog back in a book format for the very first time. The best articles from Bronan the Barbarian in this book. It's absolutely hilarious, timeless humor, and some interesting stuff as well. We'll also have potentially more running projects from Matt Lawrence in the works. It's great stuff, guys. The Chronicles of Bronan the Barbarian will be out this Friday, February 21st. Pre-orders will be opening in a few days. If you are subscribed to the Terror House mailing list, you will receive a coupon code for 30% off the book. To sign up, you can just click the link in the description or just go to terrorhousepress.com and you'll see a sign-up form right there on the front page. You'll see it right there. And of course, if you want to send us money so that we can make Bryden's bail, you can always go to streamlabs.com/terrorhousemagazine if you have questions, comments before we record a show. We announce whenever we're recording a show, we announce it right before, so you have time to get your questions in for our guests and for us. Streamlabs.com/terrorhousemagazine. Brian needs that bail money. It's jail's not a fun place to be, particularly if you've gotten a DUI. But enough of that. We got Matt Lawrence coming right up, so stay tuned.
This is Terror House,
the number one ADL honey podcast.
All right, Matt Lawrence, welcome to Terror House Radio, and thanks for coming on.
Oh, thanks for having me, Matt. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, now, I've been doing this with some of the guests who are not as well known to the Terror House audience. Now, you are obviously Terror House's art director, but you want to go in a little more detail about who you are, your work, etc.?
Well, yeah, I'm a graphic designer. I've been doing that for about 8 years now. Obviously, been working with Terror House here, doing all the book covers, the layouts, and all that stuff. So that's cool. Yeah, I used to be a pretty prolific humor writer back in the early days of the manosphere, which is obviously what we're talking about here is the book. So
yeah,
put my old stuff together there.
Ancient history for you Zoomers, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Long time ago. I mean, that's almost 10 years ago now when I started that thing. So
yeah, about half of our audience hadn't even gone through puberty at that point.
Really? I didn't realize you had such a young audience.
Oh yeah. I did about a year ago. I did a questionnaire for Terror House readers, and something like 45% of our readers were like between the ages of 18 to 24. So I used that I went on Nick Fuentes' show and I advertised Terror House as the official literary press for Zoomers.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we've got the
these guys are
we've got the
doing a little bit of pushback.
Yeah, we've got the desirable demographic here for advertisers. The advertisers that we'll never get because we're too un-PC.
Yeah. No point in even trying there.
But yeah. You and I go way back. Like, you know, you ran the BRONAN blog from 2010 to 2013, and that was when I was running in Malathi, which long timers will remember that blog as well. You wanna go into a bit behind of the history behind the BRONAN blog, your involvement in the manosphere and all that?
Yeah, that was actually kind of a weird one, man. One of my friends from high school, I actually owe this guy for quite a bit. I mean, he got me into heavy metal, he got me into EDM, and he was the one that got me into the manosphere. One day he just hit me up. I hadn't talked to him in a couple of years, and he sent me a link to Royce and DC's blog, which obviously eventually became Heartiste. And he was like, yeah, check this out. Tell me what you think about it. And, dude, I sat there for like 2 weeks, and every spare minute that I had, I was just devouring Royce's material. And then I told my friend about it, and he's like, oh, man, you're a pretty good writer. You ought to start one up, see what happens, which I did. And, I mean, I've been doing a little bit of writing here and there. One of my friends thought it was funny because I would post rants on Craigslist just because I didn't really know what blogging was at the time. And so I reposted some of that stuff and started up my blog. And you were one of the first people I found through Royce's sidebar links.
Oh, nice.
And so I remember I hit you up, and you pretty much got me on the radar there. So I just wrote you, and I was like, hey, check this out, man. Maybe you'll like this. And
yeah, I remember that.
I can't remember what you did, blasted it out to your readers or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, you did that, the weekly linkage.
Yeah, something like that. So, you know, I remember you emailing me, and I checked this out, and this guy's fucking hilarious. So, yeah, I'm gonna promote his shit.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, you really got me on the radar there. I got a good start because of that. And obviously, back then, there just weren't that many blogs. And, I mean, now it's all scammers and shit. It's really pathetic. But at the time, I mean, it was just a group of guys that were having fun, writing, like figuring stuff out, you know. So, I mean, it was a really good community at the time.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, it's kind of a broad tent. You know, the manosphere kind of gets, pegged as like, oh, it's like MRAs or MGTOWs or, you know, PUAs. But it was really kind of like that and like not that. It was just in general guys trying to figure shit out, because like a lot of what is taken for granted in the current cultural discourse, all this stuff about beta males, you know, chimerism, you know, white girls fuck dogs, you know, that all has its roots. That all has its roots in the manosphere. Like we didn't know that shit growing up. I certainly didn't. You know, my interest in the manosphere started when I was in college. I remember there was a blog, another defunct blog called Two Blowhards that linked to that linked to Royce one day. I read Two Blowhards. It was an arts blog, and I was big into kind of like libertarian politics and stuff back then, fringe politics. So I stumbled onto Royce, and it was like he's just, you know, writing all this stuff on how you can pick up women, and how it's not related to not as related to looks and luck as people would think. And I was like, shit, mind blown, you know? So I spent like, weeks just reading the entire back archive of Royce. And then through Royce, I discovered Rouge. And then I started blogging myself in 2009. And, it just kind of went from there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was pretty much the same path for a lot of people, I think. And I actually do know those two Blowhards guys.
Oh yeah. I'm friends with Ray Sawhill, who was who wrote there as Michael Blowhard. He came out under his real name a long time ago. He's retired now. He's a real cool guy.
Yeah, Ray's cool as hell. I like that dude.
Yeah,
really insightful, really chill.
Yeah. And the thing with it, I should get another thing out of the way. Like, we didn't pick the name Manosphere. That just kind of evolved out of nowhere.
I always hated that name, man. It sounds like a gay bar.
Yeah, everyone said the exact same thing. But the thing is, no one can point to when it first got started, which is kind of indicative of a lot of stuff on the internet. Just like one day, everyone was just using the term Manosphere, and it stuck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was when I got into that stuff. It was already there, so. I mean, people just had that name when I had discovered it, so.
Yeah, and...
Yeah, that was when I was very first starting out trying to do some design work, too. It was kind of like a hobby at that time, and people were like, hey, man, do you think you could make, like, a catchy logo and stuff? And I'm like, I don't really know if I want my name associated with something that sounds like this. So, I didn't bother with it, but...
Yeah, and with your blog, BRONAN, you had a very... different kind of tone than a lot of stuff. Like, there's a lot of self-serious stuff in the Manosphere, whereas your focus was always just making people laugh with all these funny stories and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like a lot of guys were really, really serious about stuff, and I mean, I'm not a real serious dude. I never really have been, and I just like making people laugh, man. That's what I do. I mean, I've been in bands and stuff, and we'd always have kind of jokey lyrics. Like, I had a high school band called CIA, which stood for Criminally Insane Americans. And it was like me and my brother and a couple other kids. And dude, our songs were just about like the most random, funny shit. Like, for instance, we had a song called Rick. And it was about our bass player at the time. He was going through his mom's shit. And he was trying to steal her weed. And so he was just ransacking her room, and he went underneath her bed and found this big box, and it was labeled Rick, and it turned out to be a giant fucking dildo. And so right then we sat down and wrote a song about it. So, yeah, I mean, that's always been the attitude, man, is that I just like making people laugh. Like, and I'm pretty good at it in writing. I mean, I'm not as funny, obviously, when I'm speaking, but... Yeah, I mean...
God, I really wish Bryden was here because, like, he was also into he's about my age, and he used to be a big musician in the Olympia, Washington punk scene. He has this one story, and I know Brian's going to listen to this, so like, I apologize if I get this wrong. I know he's talked about it publicly. He mentioned one band he was in where like one show they just got up and started like throwing stuff at the audience and started screaming into the mic. You thought we were a real band. You thought we were a real band.
Yeah, it's almost like performance art then.
Yeah, but...
Do you remember what the name of the band was?
You'd have to ask Bryden. But yeah. I mean, he's told me, but I don't remember the entire full details. So yeah, it's just that kind of and that edge of humor is something that's really, really missing from a lot of people. Like, particularly now, I've seen the online dissonant culture take so many metamorphoses and twists and turns in like the decade since. And the most important thing you have to keep in mind is you have to have a sense of humor. Because guess what? If you're being super serious, you're gonna go fucking insane with all this shit going on.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Sarah House is not a political organization, but a lot of our readers are politically engaged. And one of the big things I noticed in the dissident right, if you want to call it that, in the past couple of years, they just lost their sense of humor. Like, it's all this dour, super serious stuff about, demography or how much women suck. It's like, dude, you just gotta laugh. You just gotta laugh and live life. Because, yeah. I mean, you see all these terminally depressed people on Twitter just acting like their lives are over because of something in the news.
yeah, I just can't even do it, man. I can't read that shit. I don't want to even think about it. I mean, you can't change any of that anyway, so why even worry about it? It just makes you depressed.
Yeah.
Like, I hate even logging into Twitter. Twitter's fucking toxic.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I if it weren't for, I'm not on Twitter. I don't have any social media because I've been banned. But I do read some Twitter feeds, and but yeah, seeing all these fucking depressed people just talk about basically blackpilling themselves in an endless cycle of blackpilling. And yeah, life is bad out there, obviously, but life's not that bad. Okay, everyone listening to this, okay, you've got a roof over your head, you can afford to live and eat, you hopefully have friends and family that you care about. Life is not that bad. It really isn't.
yeah, exactly. And I kind of hate that people focus on this negativity stuff, man. Like, you're really better off focusing on, what am I grateful for today, Like, I woke up today, I've got a great apartment in Thailand, I looked out my window, I got a 21st floor view, and I was just happy for that, Like, I'm not waking up worrying about what Trump did or, like, what the fucking liberals said today or whatever. I mean, that stuff makes you go insane. Like, you're better off just focusing on what you can change, what you can do to make yourself happy, how you can help out the people around you, that sort of thing.
Well, you do have a sprained hand, but that'll go away.
Yeah, I'm not real happy about that one. Turns out when you're in your late 30s, you should not mosh. So
Yeah, you mentioned you went to a biker rally last night.
yeah, that was a blast, man. It's called Burapop, and it's one of the bigger biker rallies in Thailand. And I went with my buddy Scott last year, and we went again this year. And dude, it's just so much fun. Like, it's just this real positive, masculine environment that, like, America just lacks this now.
Yeah.
Like, it's not something that you see in America because the PC culture is so strong. But here in Thailand, it's still alive, man. I love living in this country. Like, you have a lot of actual freedom, whereas in America, you just don't really have that. Like, I mean, this big rally, we didn't have a single bit of police there. I mean, I'm sure they just bribed the police to tell them to fuck off. But I mean, there were people walking around smoking weed. They had a little stall that sold joints. That was pretty hilarious. Yeah, man, there's bands all over the place, like bikes. I'm not like a bike or car guy or anything. I don't give a shit about that stuff, but it was just a really fun environment. I stumbled across some Thai kids in a metalcore band, and they were like, "Come on, mosh." And so I was like, okay, well, I got to get a mosh pit going for these guys. And yeah, like, I slipped on a piece of trash and fell on my ass, so I sprained my hand. And now I can't draw, I can't play guitar. I'm out of the gym for probably a week at least, so...
Yeah, I mean, it sounds...
whatever, it was worth it.
It sounds a bit similar to what I went through a couple days ago when I was... I was living in Yerevan, Armenia for the past couple months, and Yerevan, Armenia... I'm in Tbilisi now. Yerevan, unlike Tbilisi, has snow. And as is typical of a lot of these second world countries, people are kind of lazy when it comes to maintenance. So I went up to the Armenian Genocide Memorial because it was one of the last major thing in Yerevan I hadn't seen, and it was interesting. It was cool, but the entire sidewalks and everything were just covered in ice. The only thing that wasn't covered in ice was a little pit in the center with the eternal flame. And as I was walking out of the northwest end to go to the subway station, I slip going downhill and I fall. I get myself up, but then, like, shortly thereafterwards, I slip and I fall again. I hit the back of my head right on the ice, and I managed to pull a Charlie horse at the same time, sliding down the road. And fortunately, I yelled out, and a couple of Armenian guys saw me at the foot of the road, and they helped me up. So I got to make use of my limited Russian there, and I was also fortunate in that the Charlie horse wasn't so bad that I couldn't walk. But, like, for the past few days, I've basically been kind of limping around.
Yeah, you got it worse than I did, man. Damn.
Yeah. I mean, it's mostly gone now, but I'm still walking with a slight, ever so slight limp. That wasn't, and I had, and like the day after I saw the memorial, I had to move house to Tbilisi, so that was shockingly painless. Like, I got on a here's a quick overview of travel in the former Soviet Union. Particularly in this part of the world, it's mostly done through marshrutkas, which are they make it like, oh, they're buses. They're not buses. They're fucking vans. They're fucking like they've got the modern like Mercedes-Benz vans, but they're fucking vans. Right. And I took a marshrutka going when I moved to Armenia from Georgia, and the guy who was driving it, even though it was a brand new vehicle, he was so cheap he refused to put the heat on. And even though Tbilisi and the city I went to, Gyumri, are only about, I think, it's either 80 miles or 80 kilometers. It's some ridiculously small distance. It takes about 6 hours to get there because the roads in Armenia are so bad. And because it was cold, I got a pretty serious bout of the flu, which kept me down for a week. This time, however, it was more pleasant. The marshrutka driver put the heat on. He managed to find roads that weren't completely destroyed, so that was shockingly pleasant.
Yeah, that actually sounds kind of like Thailand, man. They got all those vans all over the place. I mean, there is public transit, like buses. I'll head up to Bangkok every now and again. I live in Pattaya, and it's like a 2-hour bus ride. But I mean, if you want to go anywhere that's actually distant, it's those same vans. And dude, they drive like fucking maniacs too. My God. I'm not a praying man, but when I took a visa run to Wow, I suddenly became one. The guy was nosing the thing up on 2 wheels and shit. I'm just like, oh my God, am I going to live through this?
Oh my God, Georgians drive like absolute lunatics. Like every time I have to go to the airport in Kutaisi to fly out, the bus, like I always got my fingers crossed on the bus because they're always tailgating people. They're always like, you know, going fast on these hairpin turns. You know, even on the ride back from Armenia, like I was just like the guy was going at like a ridiculously fast speed on all these switchbacks, you know, and like a lot of these roads don't even have guardrails, so it doesn't take a whole lot to go right off the edge, and you know, and everyone there is dead once you hit the ground.
Oh yeah, that shit's insane, man. It's like, dude, slow the fuck down. You're gonna get there.
Yeah, you're not in a fucking race, and it's not like it's not like a fucking taxi where you get paid the faster you drive or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's crazy, man.
But yeah,
so is it like when you're in those countries? I've never been to that area. I mean, I've been to Europe a couple of times, but it was Spain and Norway, Sweden, Finland. So is it just like totally chaotic there too? Can you just kind of drive wherever you feel like it? And
there's a little regulation. It's a little better in Armenia. Ironically, people there are a bit better behaved on the road. In Georgia, it's total madness. You know, in Georgia, if you like jaywalk, you're taking your life into your hands because drivers will not yield for pedestrians. They don't obey any kind of traffic law.
Yeah, it's the same here. There basically is no traffic law. I mean, the bikes, like little motorbikes, just go flying all over the place. There's definitely a big culture shock the first time I came to Asia, and I was just like, oh my God, how do I even cross the road here?
There was actually an incident.
Now I suspect.
I didn't want to cut you off. Sorry.
I was going to say, if I went back to America and it was actually orderly again, I'd probably have culture shock going back there now.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm so used to the chaos of the whole thing now.
Yeah, it's funny. About 10 or so years ago, there was actually an incident where the president of Georgia discovered that all the traffic cops in the country were taking bribes, so he fired them all. So the country was without any traffic police for about 3 months, and apparently this didn't cause any problems because, as it turns out, all the problems in Georgia on the road were caused by the traffic cops taking bribes. And as soon as they were removed from the equation, like suddenly things just got a lot more orderly. I'm seeing how things are now. I'm not entirely sure if that's true.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's like, oh my God, it's worse.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah. Sort of circling back around to the BRONAN the Barbarian book. One of the book the things you wrote about in the blog was just utterly bizarre encounters with women. There's one particular incident that always stuck out in my mind. You wrote about the girlfriend of a former band member of yours who was in porn. You want to talk about that story? It's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, that one's not in the book. I'm actually going to write another book that's just pure stories. It's going to be more like a memoir sort of thing.
Yeah. So
But, yeah,
get excited, guys. Get excited, guys. Book number 2 from Matt Lawrence coming out soon.
Yeah, that one's going to be good, man. If you guys like Tucker Max, so imagine it's like, I hope they serve beer in hell, but not pure bullshit. Like my stories actually happen.
Yes.
So
there's no anal sex shitting on the dick while your friend films it in the closet stories.
Yeah, I've always just suspected that guy invented 90% of what he wrote. I mean, it was still funny, but it just seemed like it was mostly fiction. Maybe like a kernel of truth.
A lot of it probably happened. It's just that he exaggerated things to the point of ridiculousness, like the aforementioned anal sex story. You know, he talks about how he plies this girl into having anal sex, and the first time they do it, she has diarrhea all over his dick, and he has his friend filming it in the closet, and the smell of the Astroglide and the shit causes all 3 of them to start throwing up. In reality, what probably happened is that he just fucked the chick in the ass, and it was boring, and there was nothing else to say about it.
Yeah, exactly. So,
but
I mean, maybe the dude was in the closet. Who knows? But I've seen weirder shit.
Well, the thing about that story always, got me was like, what kind of a friend would agree to film another guy having sex, like in the closet in more ways than one?
Yeah, right.
But yeah, getting back to that story I mentioned that you wrote about.
Oh man, yeah, I'll tell you guys that one. So I used to be in this band. I used to leave names out, but at this point, fuck it. I was in a band called Guns N' Rosa Parks for a while, which was actually a fantastic name. It was a great band too. I mean, they're kind of like an underground cult thing now. But we had the original guitarist was. I mean, this guy's kind of a prick, dude. Like nobody liked him. He was an innovative guitar player. I mean, he had a style for sure, but he was dating this chick who was just a horrendous bitch, dude. She was like kind of like a proto SJW, because this was like 2005 or 6 or something. But she's fat. She had self-cut, dyed pink hair, like problem glasses. I mean, she was like the first SJW. And dude, we had band houses where like everybody lived together and shit. And so I didn't live in that house at the time, but we all rolled over there. And so these two just go inside of his bedroom and just start having the loudest, fucking nastiest sex. And we're just like, oh, God, dude, I don't even know how you can stick your dick in this bitch. She's so gross. And here you are, like, having, like, porno exaggerated sex with her. And so they finally fucked off. And, yeah, we were kind of, like, making fun of this chick, like, going around. I mean, it was a group of, like, 9 or 10 of us in the social circle there. And one guy was like, yeah, man, I hate that fucking bitch. Like, yeah, we all hate her. And then he was like, one time, I never told any of you guys this, but, yeah, I fucking went in their room when I was all drunk and I pissed in her purse. So we were all like, what the fuck, dude? She pissed in her purse? And then so another dude was like, yeah, man, like, I pissed in her shampoo bottle. And then, another guy was like, really? Because I wiped my fucking ass with a toothbrush. And I was like, dude, I fucking wiped my ass with a toothbrush. And, like, I had done that, too, because this chick is just such a bitch, right? And so one by one, we all went around the entire group, and everybody had, like, fucked their shit up somehow. Like, one dude jizzed in her fucking face cream. It was horrendous, dude. So anyway, one day, like, I mean, this was, like, right after I graduated college, right? And so I had a job working at a gas station. And so the bass player hits me up, calls me up at the gas station. This is, like, before everybody had cell phones and shit. So he calls me up at work, and he's like, oh, my God, man, you need to get down to the band house right now. And I'm like, what's the deal? And he's like, just fucking get here right now. Like, we need you here. And I'm like, fuck, this has got to be serious. Because this dude, he was like a reclusive sort of dude. He didn't really ever call anybody for anything. And so I was like, well, shit, this has to be serious. And so I start calling up coworkers trying to get them to cover my shift for a couple hours. And there was this juggalo chick that had a huge crush on me. And so I was like, yo, like, you got to come over and work my shift for a couple hours. Like, I don't know, like, we'll hang out or something. Like, I promised to hang out with this juggalo chick. And she was like, oh, my God, yes, please. And so she shows up, and then I just start running because it wasn't too far away. It was like 4 or 5 blocks. I haul ass down there. I get inside, and dude, it's like everybody in our little scene, right? I mean, there was like 30 people packed into this room, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on, you guys? And the bass player was like, yo, I saved you a seat right up front. So hop in this chair. And I'm like, what? And so he clicks on his computer, and he fires up a fucking porn. And I'm like, are you kidding me, dude? Like, you got me out of work to watch a porn? He's like, just watch it. I'm like, okay. And so we're playing this porn, right? And it's like a handy cam of some dude walking down the beach. And so he's walking down, or like the boardwalk, I mean, walking, and then down in the corner you see a watermark. Captain Stabbin's Anal Adventures. I'm like, what the fuck is this, right? Captain Stabbin, okay. And so he starts approaching this chick in a bikini, and goddamn, it was fucking Ben's girlfriend, dude. And we're just like, what the fuck? And everybody, like, not very many people knew about this. Like, this was a surprise to everybody in the room for the most part. And we're just like, holy shit. Everybody's, like, blowing up about this. Like, do you think he knows? Oh, my God. And it was obviously recently, too, because, you know, she looked exactly the same. And so it turns out Captain Stabbin is not the most attractive dude, right? He's, like, old as fuck. He's got liver spots. So they go out on a boat, right? And they wound up Eiffel Towering Jen. And she had tears streaming down her face and shit. I mean, it was gross, dude, because she's gross in the first place. Captain Stabbin's gross. The first mate's gross. Like, the whole thing was just very repulsive, right? And it was real degrading, too. Like, her makeup was all smeared and shit. But then, like, the funniest thing was at the very end, they just booted her off the back of the boat and left her in the bay like the trash she is. And so we're laughing about that. And, like, so then we're all speculating. We're like, man, do you think he knows about this shit? Like, oh, my God. And then the bass player's like, yo, we're going to answer that question right now. And so he fires up another porno. And I'm like, what? And so this time we have the classic bang bus. And so there she is on the bang bus, right? And so the premise of the bang bus here is that she's going to go around and fuck the next dude that they see on the street. And
a classic of American cinema.
Yeah, exactly, right? And so they drive down the street for a little bit. She's bullshitting with the bang bus dudes and pulls over, and who the fuck is it but him? And I'm like, oh my fucking God. Like, not only does he know about this, he's in on it. Like, Jesus Christ. And so that was really funny, too, because all the women in the group were just laughing about it because he totally limp-dicked it, and he was, like, kind of a chubby, like, skinny fat dude. But the whole time he didn't take off his shirt. And he had this kind of obscure hardcore band on his shirt. I think it was, like, Mental or something. And had he not worn this particular shirt, nobody would have ever found out about this. But somebody watched this porn and then posted about it on the Bridge 9 message board, which was like a big deal at the time for hardcore. And they were like, somebody has to know this kid. Who the fuck is it? And so our singer, he read that message board all the time. He was like, yeah, that's us, man. He's in our band. Check us out. And so getting some notoriety there, which is pretty funny. And so, yeah, all the girls were cracking on him for, you know, being like basically like a shitty porn performer. And so then it hit me. I was like, holy shit, dude. She's got this sunburn on her tits that she didn't have in the first video. So that means that Captain Stabbin was first. So he got sloppy thirds on his own girlfriend from the captain and the first mate. Like, oh my God.
He was the original cuck.
Yeah, dude, I was completely cut. And, like, wound up throwing him out of the band, and I took his place. And, yeah, like, he was trying to defend himself, like, oh, yeah, I think it's hot and all this. And, like, we were all just like, what the fuck is wrong with you, dude? Like, yeah, that whole scenario was a mess. So,
Yes. The story of the cuck guitar player and his porn actress, amateur porn actress girlfriend. I'm guessing she didn't go on to an illustrious career in amateur porn after this.
I have no idea what happened to that chick. I actually had some classes with her in university, and I think she wound up being like a social worker or some shit, which is hilarious.
Oh, God.
And also totally unsurprising, too. They all wind up in careers like that. So, yeah, that's pretty much the old porno story there.
Yeah, that was one of my favorites from the old blog, and you'll get to read it yourselves too, and very soon, guys, very soon, along with a ton of other funny stories. Now, some of the stuff that is in the book, like you write a lot about. You lived in Portland, Oregon, for a time, as did I, and you had one particularly hilarious story of the worst food service ever, going to a what's the term for it? A food cart, and a guy who could not stay awake at the counter.
Oh yeah, that was a weird one. Portland is a weird place, man. Like, I moved out there with my brother, and I was only there for just the term of our lease. I couldn't stand the place, man. Like, it is a beautiful city. I really like Portland as a city. But you want to talk about the most broken, horrific culture in all of America, and that's saying something, And so this was kind of like a little local. They had an area where it was just a bunch of food trucks. And so me and my brother go out to lunch to go grab like a falafel or a kebab or some shit. They had like this like Turkish guy running it. And so there was just this fat motherfucker at the counter, and the dude was just asleep. And it's not like, this was lunchtime and there's businesses and stuff around, so there's people for sure. And so...
so it's not like it was a slow day and he was just getting bored. No, he was asleep at peak hour in the middle of the day.
Yeah, exactly. And, this is just so typical of, like, the awful customer service and, like, just the complete selfishness of the average Portland person. Like, nobody gives a fuck about anybody there except, like, who they see in the mirror, And so this guy was just completely passed out. My brother goes up to order something, and... the dude's just, like, not awake. He's like, yo, wake up, man. I'm trying to order some food. Hey, wake up. And so the dude kind of, like, he's all groggy. He wakes up a little bit. And, whoa, what do you want? He's like, some food, motherfucker. Like, get your stuff together. And so then he places his order and sends it back to the Turkish guy in the back. He's cooking. And this dude falls asleep again. And keep in mind that there's a line behind me, too. There's 4 or 5 people waiting after me to go and get their food. And so this dude's, like, falling asleep. I wake him up again. And so he's, like, writing what I want down with a pencil. And then he starts falling asleep again. And he's, like, nodding off as I'm talking. And then he stabbed himself in the forehead with the fucking pencil as he fell asleep. That woke him up. And I'm just like, holy shit. Dude, you like narcoleptic?
What are you on, Quaaludes?
What the fuck is wrong with you? Yeah, exactly. Knowing Portland, he could have been shooting up heroin, but he didn't look like a junkie. He was fat. But, yeah, dude, so then he tries to overcharge me, and he's like, yeah, like, you ordered a Coke. And I'm like, dude, never once did that come out of my mouth. Give me my fucking $1 back or whatever. And he's like, no, I already charged you. And I'm like, dude, give me my fucking $1 back. I don't want a Coke. And so then the Turkish guy finally has to intervene, and he's just like, hey, I'm so sorry. And he handed us out like a couple little treats for free. And so me and my brother go and sit down, we start eating, and I'm kind of like looking out of the corner of my eye, and I see this Turkish dude hand out like 4 more treats to like all of the next customers. It was just so funny.
Indicating that the guy just fucked up every order after yours.
Yeah, basically like everything that was happening, this dude was just completely fucking it up. And yeah, his excuse for falling asleep was that it was hot. And I'm like, dude, it's like 80 degrees here. I don't know where you're from, fucking Antarctica or something, because that's not hot in my book. Definitely not fall asleep hot.
Yeah, Portland's not that hot in general. It sounds like the guy was just fucking lazy. But hey, at least you got a free baklava out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah,
man, I could not stand
Yeah, I mean, I've not been back to Portland in years. I'm glad, frankly, but I haven't encountered anything that bad there. But I did encounter. There was one diner I went to once. I forget the name of it. I saw the waitress who had my food was just playing on her iPhone while my food was sitting on a tray. Just past the little, door where, in the kitchen where all the food is is put, and she's just fiddling on her iPhone for 10 minutes, letting my food get cold. I saw that, and I've never not tipped, a service worker, but I gave her a 5% tip because it's like, you know what, fuck you. That stuff is just typical in Portland. Nobody gives a shit.
Oh, yeah, dude. It actually became fairly normal for me to not tip at all if I was going out. I mean, by default, my tip was 0 unless they earned it. And, I worked in service jobs, too, and I know that service jobs suck, but it's like, dude, you got to at least try. And none of these people even tried there. Even in places they had, I forget what the name of it was, but it was kind of like a Whole Foods equivalent, but not as expensive, like a natural food place that we would shop at pretty frequently. And dude, you couldn't even get a clerk to maintain eye contact with you. It's just so weird. Part of it, I'm sure, is because it's so rainy there all the time, and everybody's depressed and nobody's social. They're all a bunch of weirdos. So.
And also the fact that half the city are just transplants from somewhere else. Portland just attracts all of the weird people in the U.S. for some reason. Which, in a sense, kind of makes it serve an important social function. It draws off all the really fucking annoying people from everywhere else and makes those places better to live. Kind of like how Williamsburg and Brooklyn drew off all the hipsters from the Midwest, which makes the Midwest ironically more livable. Everyone from Cul-de-sac County, Wisconsin, is now living in fucking Flatbush, or not Flatbush, but Bushwick, which makes Cul-de-sac County, Wisconsin far more bearable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's funny too. I'm from Colorado, and so we were obviously the first state that legalized weed, and that just made every fucking loser from the entire country just move there so they could go get high. And it was the same thing. It made all the rest of the places way more livable, but dude, our prices just skyrocketed. I mean, Colorado's completely unlivable now, which is really sad because I do love that place. But, and it's actually the same with Portland, too. All the people that I met that were from Portland, grew up there and stuff, they were all really cool people. But it was all these transplants that, nobody could stand. And, the natives were always bitching about the transplants. And it's the same thing as I'm bitching about Colorado transplants right now. The exact same scenario.
Yeah, same thing in New York. People who are actually from New York City, grew up there, are pretty chill and cool. People from New York in general are pretty chill. It's the transplants who have who have the reputation for being assholes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
New York I've never been to, but yeah, I met some New York people that are pretty cool. I got a neighbor around here that's from New York, and the dude's just your classic New York guy, loud as fuck, pretty funny. So,
but yeah, I imagine, like I said, Colorado's the same way from what you described. You know that Denver legalized magic mushrooms recently?
Yeah, I did read that. That's pretty funny.
Oh God, yeah, I can't. Well, from what it looks like, the people in Denver aren't totally insane because the city council passed a law that would decriminalize camping, which would basically make it legal for homeless people to just set up permanent, quasi-permanent settlements on sidewalks. But it was put to a referendum, and the people voted it down for obvious reasons. Because imagine, working, moving to a place like Denver, a nice city like that, working your way up to owning a nice house or a nice condo, and then watching your property value be destroyed because homeless people are legally allowed to shoot up on the sidewalk outside.
Oh yeah, dude. I actually lived in Denver briefly too, and I hate that city. It is just awful. For a lot of that's for that very reason. It's expensive. It's all transplants, and there is a very, very large homeless problem, all throughout Colorado. But in Denver, it's definitely the worst. And I don't even like going downtown, man. It's kind of real sketchy depending on where you're at,
That part kind of amazes me, just because you can see homeless people clumping up in Portland or in California because the weather there is pretty temperate. Portland can get cold, but it's never like lethal cold. Like it doesn't snow there very much, so you can see like homeless people like eking out a bare bones existence shooting up under a bridge. But Denver's pretty fucking cold. The inland parts of the country are pretty fucking cold. Like how do these people fucking survive?
I really have no idea, man. No clue at all. And a lot of them are really crazy too.
Well, yeah,
pretty much every homeless person's at least some form of crazy. But I mean, you'll see them on 16th Street Mall just screaming and shit. Like, yeah, I don't even like visiting that city, man. It's just there's nothing pleasant about it.
Yeah, that reminds me of like when I first arrived in Portland. Like my greeting to the city was walking across the. Was it the Willamette Bridge or like, whatever bridge has the famous Oregon's Portland stag sign? And I was greeted by a homeless. Burnside. And I was greeted by a homeless guy who was just pacing back and forth, muttering the N-word.
Yeah. Oh man.
A white guy too, so you can add that in. That's
yeah.
But it looks like basically the entire country's going in that direction. I mean, I don't know if you follow like Roosh did his tour across the country last year, and he did video documentaries of all the cities he's been to, and like just about everywhere he went had that horrific homeless problem. You go downtown LA, you go down to San Francisco, obviously. You go to Chicago, you go to Austin, you go to Miami, wherever, and it's just homeless encampments everywhere and just total ruination.
Damn, that's crazy, man. Yeah, like even small town Colorado, because I lived in like a couple different small towns over, here and there. And like I lived in Durango, Colorado for a couple of years, and Durango has a nasty homeless problem, man, to the point of where it like affects tourism there. The entire city's based around tourism. And I worked at a hotel briefly there, and I mean, people were always bitching about the homeless problem there. But I don't know, like the city council was so like liberal about the whole thing. They're like, oh, these people have rights. We got to let them do whatever they want to do. And it's just like, okay, dude, like you're slaughtering your city's niceness here.
Well, and they have this idea that it's like somehow humane to let homeless people live like this. Was it last year or a couple years ago? I think it was a couple years ago. It was after I left. The Hungarian government passed a law basically criminalizing homeless, and they started directing the police to find habitual homeless people and put them into state-run homes to get them off the street. Because the homeless problem in Budapest used to be a major problem. When I lived there, like near the end, at one point there was this homeless lady who had like taken up encampment outside my apartment building, and she would demand money from everyone who like left, and if you didn't give her money, she'd start screaming and spitting at you. The police would like remove her like when people complained, but she just ended up camping around the block. Hopefully she's gone now. And everyone was all like, this is inhumane. How can you treat the homeless like this? Well, is it any more humane to have them running around the street, shitting in the street, shooting up on the street, harassing and threatening tourists and people just going about their day?
Yeah, man. From what I can see in San Francisco, that place looks like India now, dude. It's disgusting.
Oh, yeah.
Shitting on the street, like, heroin needles all over the place. Fuck that.
Well, that's one nice thing about the part of the world I am. You don't see that shit here. Like, you occasionally... homelessness in general really isn't a problem in the former Soviet Union because... under Soviet policies, everyone owned their own home, and if you didn't have a home, the government would stick you in a home. Even after all these countries transitioned to capitalism, all that home ownership still passed into like the residents. So like in Georgia, like 95% of people own their own homes. So you don't have this problem of endemic homelessness. You have a lot of poverty, obviously. People at least have a roof over their heads.
Yeah, it generally seems to be the same way in Thailand too. I mean, you'll have like whole families in a studio apartment and shit. So it's pretty destitute here for a lot of people, but I don't really see much in the way of homelessness. I mean, there's very little street begging, and I'm pretty sure that the street begging that you do see is some kind of like mafia thing or something. I remember there was one time, because you'll see women there with children, and these kids are obviously drugged up because you never see them crying. They're always just kind of like sitting there. And but there was one time where I saw one lady with this kid, and the kid had a pretty recognizable T-shirt on. And as I was walking around the city, I went from like the south end to the north end. It took me like an hour or two. And then I see a different woman in a different place with that same kid. So they had obviously just traded this kid around, and now she was begging on the street with this kid. And I was just like, what? Like, this is weird. And then I mentioned that to one of my friends, and they're like, yeah, it's like probably a mafia thing or something.
The street beggars have formed a union.
Yeah, exactly. Like, who gets this kid today? Like, okay, kid, your shift is 12 hours today, so you're going to have to go with this chick now.
Yeah, I lived in the Philippines briefly years ago, and like there seems to be more poverty. Going by your description, I've never been to Thailand, but it seems there's more poverty in the Philippines. I know in Davao there was like a huge collective of quasi homeless people living in tin shacks by the river. But the city in general, at least Davao, it was more common in Manila to run into street beggars. But in Davao, the police kept them off the main streets.
Yeah.
Which made that
I
place...
think Thailand is a lot more prosperous than most of the other Southeast Asian nations.
Yeah, all those...
From what
all the 50-year-old sex tourists coming in for boom boom.
Oh, God, dude. Yeah, that's like this entire city, more or less.
Yeah.
It's a crazy place. I mean, it's easy to avoid if you want to avoid it. I live kind of like off the beaten path, but yeah, man, if you go downtown, like the big famous spot is just called Walking Street here. And if you go to Walking Street, it's just like pure fucking degeneracy. It's so funny.
You got the tranny hookers and the 50-year-old Germans and.
Oh yeah, dude, it's so funny. I mean, well, I'll tell you another story here. This is a pretty good one. I'll definitely be writing this one up. So, one of my friends who he's a blogger. I'm not going to mention his name, but he came down and brought one of his friends who's this really shy dude from Australia. And so we're like, oh, let's go out to Walking Street. And so we decided to just get degenerate this night, right? They have like, it's like a strip club kind of, but you can get handsy with the girls. It's not like America where like if you touch a girl, you get thrown out on your ass like fairly violently right away. But we went into this go-go and it was like, kind of off in one of these like side alleys. We walked in, we're just like, oh my God, this place is dirty as fuck. But yeah, we're taking this Australian kid in there because he's like so shy and like has very little experience with women, I could tell. And so we go in the back and they had like a bathtub with a stripper pole there. And so I sit down next to this Norwegian dude and my friends. And so immediately like some girls come and like they'll sit on your lap and talk to you and stuff, and you're supposed to buy them drinks because you don't tip the strippers, you buy them drinks. And so this Norwegian dude he's got his head in his hands. He's like, I'm married, I got a wife, like I can't be doing this. I'm like, bro, you are in the wrong damn place. Like if you're trying to be faithful to your wife right now, like just get off Walking Street because if she saw where you were at, like
probably get out of Thailand altogether.
Oh yeah, for sure. And he wound up just getting up and leaving, which is pretty funny. I mean, like, this dude just could not handle what he was seeing. And so, yeah, we were sitting down having a couple of beers. I got some chick on my lap, and, like, my friend had, like, 2 chicks with him. And so then this Australian kid, he's sitting next to me, and so then this, like, kind of older stripper chick, she's probably 35 or something, like, kind of busted. And so she's like, this chick had the hustle. And she's like, oh, where are you from? He's like, oh, Australia. Oh, you like me? You want to finger me? And he's kind of like, I don't know. And so she starts putting a rubber glove on his hand. And he's like, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know, man. Just roll with it. See what happens. And he's like, I can't do this. I can't do this. And he's freaking out. And I'm just sitting there laughing, right? Like, because I just kind of go with the flow on this shit, see what's going on, because maybe I'll get a story. And so then this chick hands me this like big ass toy microphone. I'm like, okay. And she's like, my ass. And I'm like, what? You want me to shove this thing in your ass? And so she bends over and I was like, okay. And so I'm shoving this microphone in this chick's ass while my friend, he's making out with 2 other girls. And the poor Australian kid, he's just like deathly pale, just like, what is happening? And so I'm laughing about it. And so then well, what happened after that? There was just so much happening all at the same time. So there was like another, like the main stage, right? And so all of a sudden these two like gross German dudes, like it was like this big commotion, and one of the strippers just starts beating this dude over the head with a like giant purple dildo. And so I'm just laughing my ass off, and I turn to one of the girls and I'm like, what's going on? She's like, oh, so bad. He tried to kiss her. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, out of all the things here, that's the line. Apparently, is you can't kiss this girl.
Oh yeah, you can shove a toy microphone up their ass. You can foot them with a condom strapped over your shoe, but you can't kiss them.
Yeah, that's actually where I was going with that too. This same chick, she was like, "Oh, you give me 100 baht, you can see the piss show." I'm like, I don't know if I'm interested in the piss show. And my friend was just like, I just give her the 100 baht. And so I was like, okay, whatever, which is the equivalent of about like $3. And so hand over the 100 baht. And I mean, all these chicks are butt naked. And so she gets into the bathtub there and just starts pissing all over the place. And like, I mean, that was some distance. That was fairly impressive. And she wound up pissing in this other girl's drink. And nobody saw that but me. And I was just like, hey, like, you probably don't want to drink that. And she starts drinking it. And I'm just like, oh, God, really? Oh, my God, that's disgusting. Didn't even notice. That's how bad, like, Thai whiskey is. Like, piss didn't even... That was probably an improvement, to be totally honest. But, yeah, and then this chick, like, she puts my foot up on the edge of the bathtub there. And she starts, like... She gets out a thing of lube, and I'm like, wait a damn minute, what are you doing with that? I like these shoes. No. So she, oh, okay. And so she gets out a condom and puts a condom on my shoe and proceeds to just climb onto the top of my shoe and just starts riding it. I'm just like, holy shit, this is degenerate. And, yeah, the Australian kid, like, he just couldn't handle it anymore. He just had his eyes closed and his hands just buried, or his head buried in his hands. And we're just laughing like, oh my God, like this place is so fucked up. So
I love the dedication to safe sex, like and which is more than like actual regular women do it. Like I know Tim Sharkey, that New Zealand pimp guy who lives in Pattaya. There was
dude, I fucking ran into Tim Sharkey once.
Oh really? What was that like?
Dude. This was really late at night, and I was with a couple of my friends, and I recognized him. And as I passed him, he was like talking to some hooker on the beach, and I was like, "Hey man, aren't you Tim Sharkey?" And dude, he just fucking blew up on me, just completely. Yeah, what the fuck, mate? I'm Tim fucking Sharkey. You got a fucking problem with that and all this? And I was just like, oh, never mind, man. Like, no worries, dude. Like, I was just gonna say what's up because I used to read your Twitter, and he's like, "Oh fuck you, fuck Twitter. Everybody thinks I'm nothing but a fucking Twitter account, mate." And I thought he was actually going to try and fight me, right? And I was just kind of like, okay, dude, like you are real unstable, so I'm just going to start walking right now. And so he was like screaming at me from down the beach, dude. Like that guy is fucking crazy for sure. But yeah, he was wearing Crocs, like had a pocket full of dog food that he was feeding street dogs and stuff. That guy's quite the character.
I think if you had bribed him with some dog food, he probably would have been more less hostile.
Yeah, dude, like I was just right off the bat there. That dude was like super, super hostile. I was just like, yeah, I hope I don't run into this dude again, which thankfully I did not. I've not seen him that was right when I first got here, so that's been
well, there was
close to a year and a half.
Well, there was a story, I think it was in the Express, so take it with a grain of salt. He was apparently selling off all his cars in Australia because he had AIDS or something.
Wouldn't surprise me.
And before
being the hooker that he was trying to pick up. I mean,
before anyone says anything, how could a straight guy get AIDS? Well, it's Thailand, doesn't have the best medical care, and also a lot of these hookers are having so much sex per day that there's no lube in there at the end of the day. So yeah, dry friction, cuts, AIDS.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
But where I was going with that, with the Tim Sharkey anecdote, he was in one of the videos on YouTube. He was talking about how he used to own a chain of nightclubs in Australia, and like he would just fuck random girls who went to the to the nightclubs, and they never once asked him to use a condom. But like all these Thai hookers demand to use condoms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that the ones that are like working girls at the clubs and stuff, they have to get regular tests too. So, I mean, it's not as like formal as from what I've heard about places like Amsterdam or whatever, but
yeah, where the prostitutes have a union.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but that's the hilarious thing. Like you have sex workers, to use the nomenclature, who are more responsible about sex than normal women, in quotes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and Thailand sounds like I have no real interest in going to Thailand, but your stories about it always make me laugh. There's one particular. I'm not sure if you want to talk about this guy. A guy you used to know who turned into a full bore sex addict.
Oh God, yeah. Like, yeah, I probably shouldn't mention that one because the dude will listen to this eventually, I'm sure. But yeah, like, yeah, he got divorced. He became pretty solid sex addict. Like, there's a lot I could mention about that, but yeah, we're not going to touch on that one.
Yeah. We'll save it for 10 years or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe by the time my next book comes out, I could throw it in there or something. But
yeah,
there's plenty of adventures with that particular scenario.
And,
yeah, man. Like this whole place, dude. Like, I will get more stories of crazy shit happening in a week here than I would get in like 6 months of living in America.
Yeah,
there's always something going on.
Yeah, you got any other stories that you can share?
Yeah, there's one that comes to mind right now. Like I was coming out of the mall, and like right next to the mall, there's several. They call streets soys here, and so I was walking by one of them that's like primarily ladyboy bars, and so I'm walking by the soy, and these two Arab guys come hauling ass out of the soy, and one of them trips and falls, and they're being pursued by this ladyboy with like gigantic fake tits, and like the ladyboy's screaming, and these two Arabs are trying to get away. I have no idea what was going on. But I'm just like, what the hell? And so this lady boy comes up and like pulls off a high heel and proceeds to just beat the shit out of this fucking Arab, right? And the lady boy's wearing this cocktail dress, so that the tits pop out, like screaming and like beating him with the shoe. And dude, I had tears streaming down my face. I was laughing so hard, but like, it was just me and like Thai people, and like the Thai people were all horrified, and I'm like, unfortunately my phone was dead, or otherwise I would have got it out and videotaped this shit because it would have been hilarious. That probably would have went viral. But yeah, man, like I was just laughing and laughing. Everybody else is horrified, and this lady boy's just beating the shit out of this Arab dude. And dude, it was just out of control. He eventually got up and got away, and was like, they were running down the street, and that was the end of that. But I was just like, what the fuck was that about?
Try to stiff them on payment, or like, I'm just wondering. I mean, it might be that case because they were Arabs after all.
Yeah, I'm guessing, because those guys are notoriously cheap. Like, there's a whole bunch of Indians and Arabs that come here, and like, it's so funny. Cause that's actually another one. Like, on the beach there in the central area, it's like they'll just have hookers chilling there, and like my friends never believe this, but you'll always see groups of Indian guys all approaching the same hooker and trying to negotiate discounts to run a train on the hooker. And it's the funniest thing. It happens constantly. And I just don't get why these Indian guys want to do this. But like, I mean, they're primarily really strange dudes. And I mean, if I went down to the beach tonight, I guarantee I would see this, because you'll see a ring of like 4 dudes, and oh yeah, well there's 4 of us, and it's only going to take 10 minutes apiece, and that's less than an hour, so we deserve a discount.
Wait. Are they bragging about the fact that it only takes them 10 minutes to come?
No, it's like this is like their negotiating tactic. Like, and I've heard this shit multiple times. Like, I remember one time I was on the phone with one of my friends, and I was telling him about it because I was walking down the beach, and the guy was like, "Nah, that's bullshit, bro. Like, that doesn't happen." I'm like, "Dude, it happens. Like, I'm gonna hang up right now, and I'm gonna take a picture the next time I see it. I'll be back on the phone in maybe 5 minutes. I guarantee it." And so, like, sure enough, dude, it was like maybe 2-3 minute walk, and I see it happening right there. I like kind of stealth videoed it and sent it over to him, and he was just like, dude, it does happen. I'm like, not only does it happen, it happens constantly, man. So, and like the beach hookers are not good, dude. Like, they're not good. They're like the rejects for the most part that can't get work at like the bars. And it's also really funny too, because one day one of my friends noticed, he's like, you know, because a lot of these Thai chicks won't go with Indians and Arabs, but the ones that will, they'll kind of have a specific way of dressing to attract these guys. Like they'll have kind of like Bollywood style makeup, and like they'll all be wearing dresses that kind of remind you of Bollywood sort of stuff. And like once we noticed that, it was like, wow, this really sticks out. So yeah, man, it's very, very strange place. And
also,
I've been here for almost 2 years. It's almost normal to me at this point.
I was going to say those dresses might also single out which hookers to avoid.
Oh yeah, definitely. But yeah, that was something that neither one of us had noticed until he just kind of made that observation. And now, like every time I see it, it just jumps out for sure, because they're always trying to get those Indian guys specifically as customers.
Well, with India having become a superpower 47 days ago, haggling prostitutes is now the world's most popular sport.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's getting into it. All the sewer systems in North America and Europe are being dismantled as we speak. There are now neon swastikas on every building.
Superpower 2020.
Yes, Tulsi Gabbard is leading in the Democratic nomination to institute a new Hindu dictatorship. We probably shouldn't be talking so much smack about our Indian overlords. That might be dangerous.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to come down on us and force us to shit in the street.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I really have no interest in going back to Southeast Asia for a whole bunch of reasons, chief among them the weather, but, hearing about it, that's always makes me laugh, yeah.
Yeah, man, like, I like Asia, and actually the weather doesn't bother me that much. I mean, it's just a constant hot here, but I lived in Iowa for a while, and the humidity in Iowa during the summer and the heat there was way worse. So you'd think for this place being a jungle that it'd be pretty intolerable. But, I mean, it's not as bad as the Midwest.
And I can't stand like that just that year-round like heat in general. Like my ideal like temperature is like, 50s, low 60s, right now in Tbilisi it's not too bad. Tbilisi most of Georgia, it's kind of like living in Virginia or North Carolina. The summers are pretty hot and humid, but the winters are pretty mild. Like there's no snow here, and right now the temperature is, I think it's around 50 degrees. So, that's for winter. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's not bad. Like, I would probably be such a little bitch when it comes to cold weather now, because I'm just so used to being hot all the time.
Yeah,
but
yeah. I mean,
I'm not like I like seasons, guys. I fucking hate cold weather. Like, I like one season and it's summer, and here it's summer all the time, so I'm totally okay with that.
Well, cold weather doesn't bother me that much. What annoys me is snow. I cannot stand snow. Like just like I was talking about earlier in Yerevan, with the ice everywhere. Like it snowed pretty heavily, like a few days before I left, and as a result, the courtyard of my building basically turned into a really shitty skating rink because nobody thought maybe we should throw some salt on this so like cars can drive and people don't slip and fall, and the babushkas don't break their fucking legs walking down the street.
So do you need to be able to speak Russian to get around there? Or
not really. I mean, in Tbilisi, like, English is kind of replacing Russian as the preferred second language, just because English is more spoken globally, and it's generally an easier language to grasp. And Armenian Russian is more useful just because it's closer to Russia, like, geopolitically, but English is becoming more popular there as well. Russian can help here, but it's not mandatory.
Yeah. Okay.
You mainly only really need Russian when you're talking to older people.
Yeah.
But like all the young people speak English, Or at least the young women. That's that's something you also encounter in Ukraine, where the young women always speak English pretty well, or at least you can understand them. Whereas the young men don't really. I guess you can figure out why that is.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll leave that one for the readers to figure out.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Like, we actually have a lot of Russian tourists around here. This is a big tourism spot. And I can speak a fair amount of Russian. I find that pretty useful because most white people around here are Russian. And at least the ones that are, like, not the obvious sex tourists. I mean, the sex tourists, they're all, like, Australians or Brits or Germans for the most part, like some French.
But, like, but the Russians are, like, normal people.
Yeah, like, anybody that's, like, white and looks normal is probably Russian here. So, Russian's actually pretty useful to speak around here.
Yeah, I mean, my guess is that's because Russians like to go to Russia's a cold place, so Russians' preferred destinations are those that are warm, like Georgia, Cyprus, Thailand, and also because it's probably relatively easy for Russians to go to Thailand because they kind of need visas to go like anywhere in the West. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that Russians can get a pretty easy visa here. I think it's even easier than from the state, from what I've been told by a couple of my Russian friends. But, yeah, man, they just pop over here. There's a lot of people from Eastern Russia that just come over here, hit it for a vacation or whatever. One of my friends, he's super cool dude. This is a pretty good story, too. So, like, I'd met this Russian guy. It was with a girl I was dating, and she was like, oh, let's go to my friend's restaurant. And it was just like a little local thing, like open air and stuff. And so there was these group of Russians, and so I started trying to strike up a conversation with these guys. And the dude that wound up being my friend, he barely could speak English. My Russian's not great. I talk like a little kid. But it was good enough that, like, we're half drunk and we can kind of communicate. So wound up chilling with this dude because he was on vacation. And so we went out another night. We went to Walking Street. And then he was like, well, let's go back to my place because there's a couple of like hot Russian girls that are my neighbors and we'll invite them over for some drinks. And so we go back to his place, invite these girls over. And so like I'm hitting it off with this one blonde. Like she was pretty cute. And so I'm talking to her, my friend's chatting up this other girl, things are looking good. And then all of a sudden this other Russian dude comes busting in and like he's a big dude, like lifts a little bit, like definitely like pretty charismatic. I'm like, oh fuck, like here comes this guy, man. This is gonna fucking ruin everything, right? And so then he sits down and I'm like, okay, well I'm gonna chat this guy up. And so he wound up having this entire like full sleeve tattoo of like American Hollywood shit. And he found out that I was American and that I could speak Russian. He's like, holy shit, that's so cool. And then we figured out that we're musicians, and he was in a pretty good band. Like, I actually really liked his band. And so I wound up just blowing these chicks off completely and just talking to this dude the whole time. And we became pretty good friends, and he's been out here 3 or 4 times. Like, he'll come out here for vacation, and we'll just chill. So, like, I forget where I was going with that, but Russian people are pretty cool for the most part.
Yeah.
Some of them actually really like the fact that, I'm an American guy that can speak Russian.
Yeah, I mean that's probably part of the endearing factor. If you didn't speak Russian, they'd probably be not as friendly.
Yeah, they probably wouldn't care.
Yeah, I mean,
even though
I
can't hardly understand when somebody's talking to me. I kind of just talk at them for the most part, but they're like, "Oh, hey, that's cool."
Yeah. I mean, in Georgia, like I mainly hang out with like other Georgians or Russians. There aren't as many Russians here as there used to be ever since Putin put the flight ban in over the summer, but there's still a fair amount. The Russians who come here are more of like the hipster variety. Like for some reason, like Moscow's hipsters like going to Tbilisi to drink all the local wine and stuff. And it's also it's also cheap too. That's another factor. Like Georgia is probably one of the cheapest countries to live in the world. It's like a week Airbnb rental will maybe run you like $150. Like eating out at a restaurant is maybe $5-10 tops.
Nice.
Like when I had a lease here, a year long lease, I had a really nice apartment in the Sabertalo area, which is kind of a up and coming neighborhood. It's not like fully gentrified. This is a nice modern apartment. It had a balcony, was on the 12th floor. Totally new furniture and new everything, fiber optic internet, air conditioning, and it only cost me $600 a month. And I should also add it was a 1-bedroom apartment, so that was pretty nice.
Nice, man.
And
yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I woke up every day to like a nice view of the mountains, and to compare, like even going into parts of Eastern Europe that people generally tend to go to more often, like Hungary. Like my friend used to have a apartment like mine in Budapest, but like there it cost him about $1,600 a month.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. And if I try to get an apartment like this in the States, unless I was in like some really, really small town, I'd be paying like at least $5,000 a month.
Oh yeah, dude. Same for my place. I mean, I'm a 5-minute walk from the beach. I live in a luxury condo complex. I mean, I only have a studio here, but it cost me the equivalent of about $500 a month. But America doesn't have stuff like this here, but if they did it, this would maybe be the equivalent of like Miami or something. And it would easily cost me, $3-4 grand a month for the same apartment.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like the States is almost unlivable now, man. It's crazy.
Unless you live in like unless you're doing like what Roosh is doing and moving to the mountains and living in a house and growing your own vegetables, yeah, it's unlivable for cost of living reasons, quality of life reasons. Just ugh.
Yeah, like I'm in no real big hurry to ever go back there. I got to go back there this summer to go visit my parents and stuff, but that'll make it 2 full years since I've been to the States. And yeah, dude, I don't really have any desire to live there anymore. Like the culture, all that stuff, it's kind of baffling to me how many people want to get in there too. Like my Russian buddy, he's like, dude, I just want to move to America so bad, and I'm kind of like, why, man?
Well,
don't get me wrong. Like America's cool. It's got like really awesome nature. Like I love the national parks. I love hiking, stuff like that. The air's clean. It's not like Thailand's filthy, like disgusting air, which I'm sure it's the same in the Philippines. But it's so polluted here. Like the beach is disgusting. People just don't understand that that's a problem. They'll just throw trash willy-nilly all over the place. It's like, come on, you guys.
Yeah, in the case of Eastern Europeans, like they still have a really kind of a fascination with America because of the Cold War thing. America liberated them from communism, and they've got and their conception of America is kind of still rooted in that like 1950s. Like America is the land of opportunity. It's so powerful and clean and glorious, and it's nothing like that anymore.
No. And what's really funny, I always think that, America, like the cliche is it's, freedom. Where in America you have freedom of the press and freedom of speech for now anyway. That's kind of slowly going away from what I can tell. But in Thailand, this place is basically a military dictatorship. And you have no freedom of speech, you have no freedom of the press. But beyond that, you can pretty much do whatever you want. There's no traffic laws. You can drive on the other side of the road if you feel like it. Little shit that doesn't matter. You can start a business here for like the equivalent of like $10 or $15. Be up and running with like a little food cart or massage place or whatever within like a day or two. There's no real like bullshit bureaucracy, and if there is, you can just bribe your way out of it. So
yeah,
work in your favor.
Yeah, even without the so-called freedom of speech, like in Thailand, you're not going to get canceled for saying something racist.
Yeah, exactly. Like, racism is definitely a thing here. Like, dude, if I had like people really hate the Chinese here, and when Chinese tourists show up, they're like generally very badly behaved. They spit on the sidewalk. They're like burping and farting.
They smell bad.
I don't know, man. That culture is very strange. Yeah, and so the Thai people really hate Chinese. Vietnamese people hate Chinese. And you'll hear about it. You're like, oh fuck this guy, he's Chinese, dude. If I heard, if I had $1 for that, every time I heard "fuck the Chinese," I would be paying my rent most months.
Yeah, I'm sure, and I'm sure coronavirus is really causing the Chinese to win hearts and minds in Thailand.
Oh, not at all, man. Like, they actually did shut the borders to those big tour groups, and it's been dead around here, man. Coronavirus has really just wiped out any form of tourism from China.
Corona-chan, we love you.
Corona-chan, did you see that Corona-chan logo I drew?
Oh yeah, that was hilarious.
I'll have to send that to you.
I'll throw that as a link in the podcast description.
Yeah, I got it up on my Instagram there.
Yeah.
Corona-chan.
Yeah, that's. I mean, Brian and I talked about that in the last episode, but yeah, that's. It's funny because when I was coming back into Georgia, they had a huge placard at the border telling people, if you've been to the People's Republic of China, you've got to do this, and that. You know, and they basically said straight up on the placard, if you've been to like Wuhan or any of the places that have been affected by coronavirus, like you're going into quarantine. Like no ifs, ands, and buts. Yeah. You're going into quarantine. Georgia hasn't had an outbreak yet. We don't. There aren't a lot of Chinese tourists in this part of the world, but they're not taking any chances.
Yeah, man. Like, to my knowledge, we haven't really had a lot of it here. There have been some cases in Bangkok, but I mean, I've been kind of like laying low too. I get cabin fever a little bit. I rent an office space and I just go kind of from my house to my office. That's pretty much it, man. Like, going to that biker rally last night was the first thing I'd done since, I don't know, 3 weeks or something.
Well, I mean, if the reports are accurate, white people are unaffected by coronavirus because of a certain genetic mutation. So,
yeah, less so at least. I have no idea, but I don't want that shit.
Yeah, don't take any risks. Don't go kissing random Chinese women on the lips. Yeah, don't go kissing any other parts of their body too.
Yeah, look, that doesn't happen, luckily. Chinese chicks don't tend to like foreigners, from what I observed.
Yeah. Well, there's a subset who do, but not that many.
Yeah.
I imagine the Chinese view women who sleep with white men the way white guys kind of view white girls who sleep with black guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's actually the same with Thais too. Like, there's a bit of a stigma attached to that. Like, if you're a girl that likes foreign guys, then yeah, it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, Tim Sharkey talked about that in one of his videos. He was like, good Thai girls don't suck white dick.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, from what I understand, like, one of my friends, he's half Thai, and he's like, yeah, like Pattaya is not really Thailand. Like, if you go out to the villages and stuff, like, you'll get a warm welcome and stuff, but it's not like, I don't know, like, the traditional ones aren't going to want anything to do with you in terms of, like, dating.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I imagine that attitude was inculcated through decades of just, like, the worst people coming to Thailand for, I mean...
yeah, which is pretty much still the case, so, like, I don't blame them one bit for that. Like, you get some dirty weirdos here, man, like, straight up. I mean, there's a lot of cool people here. I've met some awesome friends out here, but as a general rule, man, like, mustard-stained wife beater wearing fat dudes from Britain that are just, like, gross, dude.
Oi, mate, where can I find the candle show?
Yeah, exactly. You just don't even want to talk to those people either. You're just like, yeah, man, just stay away.
Well,
it was funny because I was chilling at Starbucks the other day, and this bar girl shows up with this, like, fat old German guy, and this dude was having a hard time. He just looked real sick, and, like, he gets up, goes to the bathroom, and I was like, I'll be a dick and try and get his girl, right? I'm going to poach this chick. And so I was like, oh, you look really bored. Like, how's it going with this old guy? And she just rolls her eyes. She's like, oh, God, like, no. And I'm laughing at her, like, making fun of her. I'm like, oh, you like old men? And she's just like, yeah, he's really sick. And it's like his third day in Thailand. And I'm like, oh, man. Then the guy comes back. He sees me talking to his chick, and he's instantly on the defensive. And I start chatting him up, and I'm like, yeah, how's your Thailand trip going? He's like, oh, man, I ate some food, and been sick and throwing up. And I'm like, well, why are you in the Starbucks mall then, man? Like, go back to your house.
Why are you hanging out with a chick? Why don't you just get it out of your system first?
Yeah, and, like, obviously, like, he's paying this girl to be there, you know? Like, she's clearly, like, on the payroll because she wouldn't be there of, like, her own free will if she didn't get money. And, like, yeah, you could just tell that this was not, like, the happiest day of her career for sure. And, yeah, man, you just see that sort of stuff all over the place. Like, just these dirty asshole white dudes. But again, I find it funny. It's not like anything that's, like, depressing me or anything like that. So if you find it entertaining, you got a good sense of humor, you got a good attitude about the whole thing. There's a lot of funny things to be seen in this country.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a bit of that in Manila. Like I remember, and Mark Zolo of all people suggested I go to the LA Cafe when I was in Manila because, as he put it, it's the easiest place to get laid in the world. So when I go to Manila and I go to the LA Cafe, or I think it's now called, or at least it was called then the Manila Bay Cafe because there was a management change because the owner forgot to bribe the right people. What Mark Zola didn't tell me is that while it is very easy to get laid there, it is also absolutely teeming with hookers and sex tourists. Like you see all the American dudes, all the retired military guys, with the fat gut and the flip flops and the cargo shorts, and I was like, oh my fucking god. And I can't believe I'm going to say this. It's actually not a bad place to go so long as you just bat all the hookers off of a stick. Like they've got like an upstairs area where they have like cover bands. I wandered one night and they were like doing like Madonna covers, and that was pretty cool. But at one point, like just to get like women to leave me alone, I started telling them I was gay. Like just leave me alone. I'm here to drink and watch the music.
And then the gay hookers start bothering you.
No, there weren't any of those there, thank God. Yeah.
Do they have lady boys there? Is that like a thing?
They do. I mean, imagine not the same prevalence as Thailand. I learned this tip. It's pretty well. In general, it's pretty easy to tell lady boys apart, like from the general population, because they're much taller. And they're easy to spot. You can't accidentally sleep with a lady boy in these countries. It just doesn't happen. If you're sleeping with a lady boy, it's because you want to sleep with a lady boy. But in the case of Manila, like you can tell a lady boy if you can't tell them like from sight. They all have the exact same line. They'll tell you that they can't hook up with you because they're on their period, but they'll blow you and you can finish on their tits. Like if a girl starts talking to you like that, like it's a lady boy, run.
Oh, yeah, dude, like, the same thing, like, obviously, like, everybody in America makes fun of me, like, oh, you're only there to fuck lady boys, blah, blah, blah. But then some of them are curious, they're like, oh, yeah, I've seen pictures of lady boys, and they're, like, beautiful, right? Like, so how many times have you been fooled? And I'm like, dude, like, if you are here for 2 weeks and you can't spot a lady boy, you are willfully ignorant. It is, like, very easy to tell. I mean, even the ones that are, like, pretty convincing, because there is convincing surgery, like, you can get Adam's apple shaved off or whatever they do there. Like, I mean, if they're conservative with the fake tits that don't look like basketballs, then, I mean, they can be pretty convincing, but you still have, like, the frame of a dude. You still have wider shoulders, no hips, like a masculine way of walking. Like, lady boys will really have this exaggerated swish of the hips, but it's like a really, like, it's not the way a chick walks. You can tell because
it's very self-conscious.
Yeah, like everything, it's like very active too, and like their attitude is that of a man, So I mean, like no woman is going to be coming at you all thirsty, wanting to blow you right off the bat. That just is. It does not happen.
Yes.
Right. And so if you have a supposed woman like, hey, I'll suck your dick, I'm like, yeah, you are a dude, 100%. Like, it's very easy to tell for sure. And the voice is always kind of like off, like just sounds weird. It's very practiced. And I mean, the only time I've ever ran into a ladyboy was like my friend was friends with this like post-op ladyboy that didn't have a dick anymore. And that was pretty, like you'd have to have an eye to spot that one. And like I even have trouble thinking of that as a dude. Like, in my mind, like that lady boy is she, but you could still tell because there was no hips, like wider shoulders and like the mannerisms there. So yeah, it's pretty easy to spot.
I remember you once telling me you were in Chiang Mai and you went out like to the nightlife district at one point. And as soon as you got out of the taxi, some lady boy came up to you with a picture of herself or himself naked on the phone, and you like snapped your neck as far as you could to avoid seeing it.
Oh God, yeah, that was like a couple years back. I just spent a summer in Southeast Asia, and it was Vietnam for a month, and then I went to Chiang Mai for a month. And that was like something like day 3 in Chiang Mai. And like I was just like, I got out of a bad relationship at the beginning, and that's kind of why I came out here. And so I was just going hard on Tinder, right? And like trying to just meet every single girl that I possibly could. And so like I met this chick on Tinder, and so it was kind of like a ways away from where I was staying. This chick hits me up at like 2 a.m, and I'm like, well, either this chick's going to be a hooker or else this is like a slam dunk, right? And so I call up a Grab. Grab's like Uber.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. And so I call up the Grab, and he's like, where are you going? And I told him where it was, and I forget the name. I haven't been to Chiang Mai in a while, but it was like the red light district. And he's like, oh, you're going there, huh? And I'm like, why? What's up with that? And he's like, oh, you don't know? And I'm like, nah, man, I've been here for like 3 days. He's like, oh, that's like where all the hookers are. And I'm like, oh, really? Okay, well, I guess that answers that, but I'm already basically there. And so, like, I was bullshitting with this Grab dude. He was pretty cool. And then he's like, okay, where are you going? And I'm like, I don't really know, man. It's around here somewhere. I guess just drop me off at 7-Eleven. And so, yeah, as the dude pulls over this, like, just totally strung out lady boy, like, they have this shit called Yaba. And Yaba is, like, really shitty Thai meth. So, like, a lot of people are on this shit all the time. This, like, the lady boy was obviously, like, way strung out on Yaba. And comes over and just, like, slaps the phone against this dude's window. And it's, like, a picture of said lady boy butt naked with, like, a huge boner and these fake tits. And I'm just like, ah, Jesus Christ, fuck this. And then, dude, that Grab driver, he was just cracking up. He's like, oh, why don't you go out there and meet with her? And I was like, fuck you, dude. Like, take me to 7-Eleven. And so he drops me off, and I just fucking bolt right into 7-Eleven so I don't have to talk to this lady boy. And, yeah, so then I hit up the chick that I was supposed to be seeing, right? And I was like, oh, where are you? And like, I'm in 7-Eleven hiding from this lady boy. So it wound up that, like, I was meeting this chick, like, directly across the street. And at least this was a real girl. But, like, I walked over there, and, like, she wound up being, like, super strung out on Yaba, too. And I was just like, oh, my God, like, what the fuck is with these people? Like, and it was a pretty dirty little district there. So, like, I sat down and I was chilling out with them, and they're like, oh, yeah, like, you want to buy us all beer? And I'm like, not particularly. I'm not drinking tonight. They're like, oh, you buy for us. And I'm like, nah, you're going to have to buy your own beer. And so they're hollering at, like, every single, like, white guy tourist that comes by. And Chiang Mai is, like, super touristy. It's mostly full of, like, dirty, hippie backpackers.
And digital nomads.
And so they managed. Oh, God. Ugh. It reminds me too much of Colorado, man. I just don't want to be around those people. And which is why I don't live in Chiang Mai. Like, I would take sex tourists over digital nomads any day. But, yeah, man, like, the girls that were there wound up hollering at this, where's that guy from? I don't know, it was some, like, quasi-Middle Eastern place there. Like, whatever it was. But anyway, he sits down, and he's just forking over cash for beers. And so he's getting all these chicks drunk. It was, like, 4 chicks and this gay dude. And he's just like, yeah, man, like, I'm going to get all these girls drunk, and I'm just going to sleep with every one of them. And I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, where am I? This is too much. So I chilled for a while, and it was like 3 a.m, and I was like, I'm just going to go home. Couldn't get a Grab to pick me up. Like, didn't speak Thai well enough to really feel comfortable getting on one of the motorbike taxis. And so I decided just to hoof it home, which was like an hour walk. And, dude, I was just, like, dodging lady boys left and right. Like, oh, where you go? I go with you. like, oh, hell no, dude. I was like, well, welcome to Thailand. I guess that's what this place is about.
Yeah, it's like your Pac-Man, only instead of the ghosts, it's ladyboys.
Yeah, for real. Trying to go down random alleys to avoid the ghosts. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like a fun experience, but we've been at this for about an hour and a half. I think now is a good time to kind of leave it off. Just a reminder, folks. Chronicles of BRONAN the Barbarian is coming out this Friday, February 21st. There will be coupon codes and stuff, pre-orders available, and all that. Matt, anything else you want to say about the book and about your other projects?
It'd be awesome if you guys pick that up, man. I mean, a lot of people don't know who I am at this point, obviously, but reading through that material, I am still really proud of that. I was cracking up at my own material, so I think if you guys enjoy humor writing, like I said, it's kind of like Tucker Max-ish sort of stuff, insult comedy. So, yeah, check it out, man. Like, I'm proud of the way that it turned out, and I think you guys will really enjoy it.
And I should also add, Terror House Magazine is going to be publishing some excerpts from the book starting on Tuesdays, so you can go check out terrorhousemag.com and see some of those excerpts. Matt, is there anything else you want to promote and plug?
Yeah, I'm a graphic designer, so if anybody out there ever needs any kind of logo work, book covers, album covers, I do all kinds of stuff like that, so feel free to check out my portfolio. I'll make Matt drop a link to my Instagram and my website and stuff. If you guys need any kind of work like that, I would be more than happy to do whatever kind of projects that you guys need.
Yeah.
Help you out with your visuals.
Yeah, his website is mattlawrence.net. He's also on, his Twitter is twitter.com/mattlawrenceart. I think your Instagram is also the same, mattlawrenceart.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
at Matt Lawrence Art.
Yeah, there'll be links to all of that in the description. So people can go check out your stuff. And like I said, Matt Lawrence is our art director. He's done our previous book covers. He's done the logo. He's also done a lot of personal work for me. I absolutely recommend him 110% as a graphic designer and an artist. Like he's got a great mind, a great vision. He always delivers on time, and he's just great to work with.
Oh, I appreciate that, man. Thank you for the kind words.
Yeah, definitely. So if you need graphic design work, go check out what Matt is doing. He's 110% the best guy for the job. And of course, if you want to check out my own work, it's mattforney.com. I'm on Telegram. I've got my YouTube channel and the DLive channel. There'll be links in that description. You know where to find me. Just remember, kids, Chronicles of BRONAN the Barbarian is out on Friday. And that'll do it for this episode of Terror House Radio. Be sure to check in every day at Terror House Magazine, terrorhousemag.com for our latest publications. Check out our books at Terror House Press at terrorhousepress.com. Follow our social media links in the description. And don't forget that you can always check out past episodes of Terror House Radio at terrorhouseradio.com. Terror House Radio is produced by Bryden Proctor and presented by Jugs. Intro music by Meme Extremist, illegitimate non-coverundum. Don't let the bastards grind you down. I'm Matt Forney with Matt Lawrence, and we are out.